Machiavelli's perspective on the power of money. Machiavelli's view of power was not just about military might or political maneuvering. It was deeply rooted in control over the economic system. In his seminal work, The Prince, he famously states, "A prince who wishes to rule the state must first hold the keys to the treasury." This statement reveals the true source of power. The treasury represents not only the financial resources that a ruler commands, but also the economic structures that sustain his reign. A prince can hold the crown, but without the wealth to back it, his reign is unstable and short-lived. However, the Rothschilds understood this principle intimately and applied it in ways that extended their influence far beyond the traditional corridors of political power. While many rulers across history have been known for their military campaigns or their ability to manipulate the political system, the Rothschild family didn't need to wield a sword. They understood that controlling the treasury, the economic lifeblood of any state, was the key to true power. The Rothschilds didn't control the rulers themselves, but rather the institutions that controlled the finances of entire nations, securing them a long-lasting influence over world events. In this sense, princes may rise and fall, but the decisions made by central banks, particularly the setting of interest rates, have a far more enduring effect on the lives of ordinary people. The central bank, unlike any elected leader, has the power to dictate the financial future of a country. The Rothschild dynasty's monetary empire. The Rothschilds were masters of banking, using their strategic influence over financial institutions to shape the political and economic landscapes of nations. Let's explore their key moves. The Bank of England and Rothschild control, 1815. In 1815, following the Napoleonic Wars, the Rothschilds gained significant control over the Bank of England, solidifying their position as the dominant force in British finance. Through their financial prowess and savvy investments, they earned the trust of the British government, allowing them to shape monetary policy and protect Britain's economic interests in a post-war world. Their influence was not just through money, but through controlling the means of monetary production. The French central bank and financial dominance post-Napoleon. In the wake of Napoleon's defeat, the Rothschild family expanded their reach into France. By aligning themselves with the new French government, the Rothschilds were able to establish financial dominance, particularly with the Bank of France. Their ability to lend money to governments, and thus control their spending, cemented their role as key players in European affairs. The Rothschilds' ability to stabilize national finances in the wake of revolution further reinforced their power, as they became indispensable to European governments. The Morgan-Rothschild collaboration in the founding of the U.S. Federal Reserve. In the early 20th century, the Rothschilds extended their influence to the United States through their collaboration with J.P. Morgan in the creation of the Federal Reserve. This central bank would become the cornerstone of U.S. monetary policy, with the Rothschild family ensuring their interests were represented. By controlling the creation of money, the Rothschilds and their partners were able to shape U.S. financial policy, giving them unprecedented influence over the global economy. The independent mask of central banks. Turkey's case. Central banks, though often portrayed as independent bodies that serve national interests, have increasingly become intertwined with global capital, thanks in part to families like the Rothschilds. Turkey, like many other nations, has a central bank that is officially independent. However, in practice, these central banks are often beholden to international financial forces, particularly those based in the West. The notion of independence becomes a facade, masking the reality that these institutions are susceptible to the demands of global financial elites who can dictate the economic policies of nations, including Turkey's. IMF and World Bank, the crusades of the new century. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank have long been accused of engaging in economic invasions under the guise of humanitarian aid and development funding. While their stated missions are to promote global financial stability and development, the true impact of their loans is often to entrench indebtedness and dependency in recipient countries. Machiavelli's warning. Conquering a country is hard, but lend it money, and it will invite you in. This Machiavellian principle is perfectly illustrated by the actions of the IMF and the World Bank, who have often used debt as a tool of control. Countries facing economic crises are pressured into accepting loans with conditions that often result in the privatization of national assets, austerity measures, and the dismantling of social welfare systems. This subtle form of conquest allows these institutions to impose their will on sovereign nations without firing a single shot. Case studies of economic invasions. Greece. After the 2008 global financial crisis, Greece was pushed into accepting a bailout package from the IMF, which came with strict austerity measures. These measures led to widespread poverty, unemployment, and social unrest, while the Greek economy continued to struggle under the weight of debt. Argentina. The IMF's loans to Argentina in the late 20th century came with similar conditions, ultimately resulting in economic collapse and a devastating financial crisis. Argentina's sovereignty was compromised as the country was forced to adopt policies dictated by international financial bodies. Turkey. As part of the global financial network, Turkey has been subjected to pressures from both the IMF and private international investors. The Turkish central bank's independence has been undermined, as its policies are often aligned with global capital interests, particularly those emanating from Western financial powers. Sri Lanka. The island nation, once hailed as an emerging economy, fell into an IMF-driven debt trap, which precipitated a political and economic crisis, highlighting the vulnerability of nations that accept loans without fully understanding the long-term consequences. Central bank interest rates. The modern chains of the people. Interest rates are among the most powerful tools available to central banks, and they are often set by unelected technocrats, not elected officials. The decision to raise or lower interest rates can have immediate and widespread effects on the economy, affecting everything from housing markets to employment rates to inflation. Banker technocrats over elected leaders. Machiavelli's observation that a prince who becomes dependent on another's purse wears a crown but sits on another's throne holds true today. While elected leaders may appear to rule, they are often forced to bow to the decisions made by central bankers, individuals who are not accountable to the public. These unelected figures hold the power to determine the economic direction of entire nations, effectively rendering politicians powerless in the face of global financial forces. BIS. The Bank of all banks. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS, is a key player in the world of central banking. Based in Switzerland, the BIS functions as the bank for central banks and is often referred to as the world's most powerful financial institution. The BIS's role is to facilitate cooperation among central banks, set global monetary policy standards, and serve as a hub for financial policy coordination. The supranational structure of the BIS. The BIS operates beyond the jurisdiction of any single nation, positioning itself as a supranational entity that wields significant influence over global monetary policy. While it is often portrayed as a neutral institution, its role in shaping financial systems and policies across the world reveals its true power. The BIS is the ultimate authority in determining the direction of the global financial system, and its decisions can affect the economic health of entire countries. The author of global monetary policies. The BIS sets the tone for global monetary policy, determining everything from interest rates to currency valuation strategies. It is the architect of the financial architecture that governs the global economy, and its influence extends far beyond what any elected government could hope to achieve. The BIS's unelected officials effectively control the flow of capital across the globe, exerting influence over nations and people alike. By looking through Machiavelli's lens, we see that the true power of nations is not in the hands of kings or presidents, but in the control of money, specifically, the power to issue and manipulate currency. The Rothschilds, along with modern central banks, have leveraged this control to create an invisible empire that governs the economic destinies of nations. Through institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and BIS, this empire maintains a tight grip on global finance, ensuring that the wealthy and powerful remain in control of the world's purse strings.